What's going on, everybody? Hope you had a good weekend. We're going to start off with an announcement. On July 1st, we're going to be switching the Discord over to a premium membership model. What this means is that those of you that do support us and help us create quality content are going to be getting all of the content we post a couple days early compared to the regular free chat channels. So everyone else is still going to get the same content. It's just going to be on a bit of a delay. And that's really just to reward those of you who do help support us, as we do put a lot of time and effort into it. So just want to start off with that. If you have any questions, talk to us in chat. And to start things off, we're going to look at the SPY as always. As expected, Friday produced some very interesting results. If we take a look at the 30-minute time frame, again, we had all those expirations coming in. So we got this very interesting volume spike at 12 o'clock. A lot of volatility was produced. If you take a look, what happened here is that the spread, your bid to ask spread on all the options that are being placed is all over the place. And so you have a bid up here and an ask down here. And so then it's going to try to figure out where it's going to close at. So we ended up taking the downward momentum, filling the asks instead of the bids. And this continued on all the way to the end of the day when the big boys, the institutions, came out. They actually waited until about the last 5 minutes or so to actually place their orders. And what you see is that most of those orders weren't even placed until after hours. You can see them all right here. So the option chain was sitting in such a place that the spreads are all over the place, but it actually ended up converging a little bit. So your bids and asks got a little bit closer. But when they were getting ready to place these orders, obviously they thought that those were going to be in a little bit of a different position. And so it's possible that a lot of bids got wiped out and that all those orders that got placed, since it got after hours, we only got the asks coming in. And so you kind of see this very interesting thing. These two candles very similar. So a very similar story. This is going to set up an interesting Monday, because don't forget that after hours and pre-market moves have dictated the price of the S&P for the last month or so. If we just take a look, we get these gap ups, gap downs that completely dictate what the day is going to bring. Now, sometimes we gap up and then we're down on the day. That makes sense. And the same if we gap down, then we're up on the day. There's a few different things that happen with that. But a lot of the big price movements do happen in after hours and in the pre-market moves. And so if we think about what the story's been recently, we closed almost 1% down after hours. As long as pre-market moves stay somewhere in here, I would expect we're going to be up on the day. So even though we closed over here, we're going to open over here. I would imagine that we're going to be up on the day if we stay down here on pre-market. That's just the way it's been working. The New York session tends to be up besides, and we're going to take a look at what's going to happen this week, besides during this consolidation. Look at the amount of red candles we have here. We're opening high, closing low. This is all after hour and pre-market moves that's dictating this. Maybe we shouldn't have been opening up this high. And we've seen that time and time again, is that we're opening at a level that we can't actually sustain through the day. And then just depending on the supply level itself, that's what's dictating it. So look how we're moving through these supply levels so quickly, even though if you take a look at any time in the history of the S&P, we do not move through supply levels that fast. And so even though we consolidated, we're moving through supply levels faster than we really ever have. And so this is fun. This is what I like to see, is that we're getting some movement. And we're going to get some more action, especially on Monday. So are we going to come bounce down here again? Or, there's a couple things that can happen. But again, they're dictated by after hours and pre-market moves. We're not really seeing that during the day. We're just seeing that during the day, when you look at the candle, it's in reaction to what happened pre-market and after hours. So Monday morning, let's see where we are, and let's see if that's what happens. Let's see if we do move back up. That's what I would imagine is going to happen. I actually imagine we're going to get some sort of gap up. I think all the bids are going to be there, and then we're going to see. It's possible we gap up, and then we get another red candle right here. So we'll take a look at that. In terms of the rest of the week, we are in a very good range. Again, these two trend lines, as long as we're in these two trend lines in this range, it's a very nice uptrend to have, even though we have some very big overreactions in terms of movement with how big these candles are. That's completely okay. Again, I think a lot of this is less to do with the news and more to do with the technical side of things, as this wasn't as much news. The news was in here. In terms of the candles, these are all technicals during the day, and so we have a very nice range to get in. I think we're going to be up here. We've been in this 311 and 308 range for quite some time, and it is a stronger range, but I'm expecting us to be in this range up here during this week. And I think if we do get in here, we're going to see a similar story where we're going to start increasing velocity and get up over this, because once we get over this 319 resistance, this really comes back to our all-time highs, that if we do get up here, we're just going to take off. So I think as we climb, our velocity is going to increase. And so I expect that this week, as long as nothing too drastic happens, some bad news isn't going to slow us down, I don't think. I think as long as we continue this uptrend, we're going to see velocity pick up. You already see how large these bars are. If we continue that uptrend with this amount of velocity, we're really going to see it pick up. It's going to be interesting. So we'll continue watching. And now what we're going to do is go through the recent positions we have and see where we are and if we exited them. Taking a look at the positions that we entered going into last weekend and after the weekend. So here's the calls that we got AVLR, Monday open, and then we closed it right here at the top of this trend line. So 18% gain. Again, these are all calls, options. So when you take a look at the percentage like this is about 1,000% that we got on that option call. Next up is Billy. Again, we got in at Monday open, and then I closed right when we got into this trend line. That was 21.5% there. Again, these call options are getting significant percentage gains when you take a look at those. FLSY, again, we opened over here. We had cashed out, and then we still had a few more. We closed these on Thursday up here, though. That was about a 38% gain on the rest of the call options. I only had a few left that we didn't cash out. Next up, PDD, opened here, and then we closed right when we get to this trend line here on Thursday, and then again it climbed again, but 22% gain there. Taking a look at PSO, we're still looking good. We're in this trend range here. So again, this is a much longer trade, so nothing's going to be really happening until we get over this resistance level. It's a very slow mover. You can take a look at the candles, no movement, but still very happy about this trade. Tesla, got some fun here. Again, we got in down here. Well, it was right around here at 10 o'clock, and we sold these right up here at this top of this trend line. So this was about 9%, not 11% that we gained on those. Next up, from Monday, NEO. Take a look where we are here. Again, this is the ticker with all the supply around here. So we entered a position right here. So we're still looking for some movement. Got this trend line here. Still looking good. The big one of the week, Etsy. Again, we entered down here at open. And then here we are still. We're at 16%. We tracked another breakout of this pattern here on Wednesday. And so that really is what produces this next big uptick here. Huge candle on Friday. I'm still in this position, took some winnings, but this is really going to be one of our key positions as we are at all-time highs and there's no resistance to stop us. DraftKings. So some interesting movement here. Again, a lot of the flags are actually looking like this. We entered here. We're now at resistance, and I expect now that we're going to break over this that we see the big jump. So I'm excited about this once we get over this. So we'll see what happens at open. If we're not going to climb up above this, then maybe I need to think about managing this trade and taking some winnings off the table. TXG, we're still going into this apex here, but now that we're sort of moving over this trend line, if we can get over this resistance, then again, this is a very long pattern, but we need to break over. So everything's still the same there. LX, another one of our big movers. So we had a huge breakout here, entered right here on next Monday, on the Wednesday. And so now we're up 17% from the max here. If we just take a look here, that's 12%. So we're still moving through supply levels, long pattern. So that's really going to start to take off once we break that. Peloton, continuing this uptrend. We're at all-time highs. It's not going to take much for this to take off again. So really looking for this to start breaking away. Again, this is an upside breakout. This should dictate that this trend line is going to continue. Keep an eye on that. IQ again. I know a lot of you had wondered, well, you missed this big uptick since we weren't able to get in from the open because it was all gapped up pre-market. Still is up though. Take a look at the way that this is closed. That's 14% there that somebody got into. So again, just because it had gapped up, there's still earnings and gains to be made up there. Another one of the big earners that I got, net, got here Monday open, closed right up here at this trend line, 27% gain on that. So again, this is one of those situations where all-time highs, it's very easy to climb. So you don't really want to miss out on these trades. Again, big breakout, scared that you're missing the boat. Nope. Getting all the gains here. Taking a look at the next, 616 BDO. I know a lot of us are taking a look at this. We're starting to get the movement going. We get this open here. What are we up now? We're at about 4%, excuse me, we're down here. And so we had a 4%, and I would imagine that we're going to be continuing this, and we're working through that supply. So we're really waiting again. Longer pattern, waiting for that. CLX, take a look at these. Again, all-time highs. We're moving through them real quickly. So if you take a look where we are, we're getting there. We're getting there. So our percents are getting in. Cold, another one of our longer positions, still in the same spot. Got to break this resistance. CORT, perfect movement here. Again, you got a continuation triangle that tells us we're going to re-enter this uptrend. Take a look at how we re-entered the uptrend. Now we have a really nice angle to climb on, so I'm excited about that position. DHI, we're a little bit down. We've seen this on a lot of the flags, just like DraftKings. We have this sell here, but remember, you get this trend line that you have as support. And so, it's even a little bit further, you have this trend line that we're sitting on support. And so even if we come down here, I expect us to continue to climb back up. This is a longer pattern. I did speak towards how this was a longer flag, so it might take longer to develop, but this is a sharp uptrend. So if we can get back into that, that's definitely going to be good. GGAL, this is my very long term that I had spoken about, but I had tracked this flag. This was a very interesting position to enter in, as I actually didn't even set a stop, and I probably would have got stopped out from this trade here because I went down 7%, but this thing moved so quick that I couldn't even put a stop in. So if you take a look at the movement we got, then it was 10. So just one of those interesting ones. IOVA, we got this wedge. It's starting to happen. We're sitting on the supply. And again, I'm expecting to get back in this uptrend. Got some supply to move through, but just take a look at the candles. I expect us to make some moves there. 617, eBay. So again, still excited about eBay. We're still sitting on top of this trend line. If we take a look at what happened at the end of the day, I want you to take a look at this 1 minute candle. About 50% of the volume of the day is in one candle. So that's at the end of the day. I'm pretty sure we're going to do okay on eBay, and then we're going to jump up here on Monday and continue that. DHR, we came down back into this apex, weren't able to sit on top of this resistance, turn it into support. So we're going to see what happens when we move through here. If this does come down, I know these are moving down. If this does come down here, then I'll start thinking about it, but we have a very long pattern, so I'm still bullish on this, not worried. Team also has a similar story. I'd spoken to this about a few of you. As long as we don't come below this trend line, then we're still in the uptrend. So completely fine with that. We'll continue to watch all those. 618 ZS, this is the other big jump that I was looking for because we had the 40%. So an interesting day on Friday with this sell here. I'm expecting that what we're going to get is in the first 1 hour candle. It's going to completely engulf this entire candle here. So 4% I'm expecting to get in 1 hour. We're going to see what happens, but I'm already in this position, so that's what I expect. WB, not much of a movement, just sitting back on the supply level. Again, much longer pattern that we went over. It's going to take a little while to get up here for that to develop. And now we're going to take a look at the new positions here for Monday. These are the breakouts that I tracked from Friday, charted them over the weekend. So you can see that we have a continuation triangle here. We're breaking out of this downward trend line. So again, a continuation triangle is two converging trend lines, this consolidation period with your apex pointing to the right. And now that we've broken out of it, it's signaling that we're going to continue this uptrend. And so if you take a look at how we stayed in here and the movement that we have, what I'm expecting is that we're going to break through this resistance and get up to about 72. So on NEM, I'm targeting 72. Next up is CGNX. So here, again, this is a continuation pattern, but this is not a triangle. This is a continuation wedge. So the difference being is that you have the two converging trend lines, but your apex is pointing down. And so I think of it more as being wedged out of the uptrend. And so you can see that we broke up out of this downward trend line. We have a couple supply levels here. We just have to really get through this first one to be able to get into this range, which we can really move fast through if you take a look. And so what I'm expecting is to get back into this trend range. So what I'm targeting here is 65 for CG and X, as we do have to break this here. And it's not that long of a pattern, so I'm going to target 65 on CG and X. Next up is CHGG. So we have this upside breakout here. We've seen this on a couple patterns really, and this is because we're at all-time highs that this is going to happen, where you have this bit of a hold here between these two levels, and now that we're breaking out of it again, I expect that we're really going to pick up speed here. There's not really a trend you can even look at, so I'm really looking at this line to dictate where we're going to go. So for CHGG, I'm going to target 77. I think that's probably the most conservative you can do, and really what's going to happen is once we even get there, we're going to see what supply that we can build and see if we can actually turn that into support and continue their uptrend there. Next up, KPTI. I've looked at this at a couple times. I actually took a trade down here and we sold it up here on this big candle. So this is a very interesting pattern here. You can see how long this wedge is. So the bigger the pattern, usually it dictates a few things. The longer the pattern, the longer it usually takes to continue whatever the uptrend was before. And so you can see how large, first of all, this range is. And you know, it's for good reason that it's in this large range. But then take a look at how big this wedge is. We wedged out of it, but the big story here is look how early we broke out. So the sooner that you break out of a pattern compared to its apex, the stronger a signal it is. So if we broke out down here, it wouldn't be as strong of a signal. But since we broke out about halfway, that's a pretty good bullish sign. So not just that it broke out of this two converging trend lines, since it was so early. So what I'm actually going to do when I target this, if you take a look at just this one resistance line, you can try to find another resistance level in here, and there really just isn't one. It's too much movement, and so I do like movement. I do like a little bit of volatility. It helps actually get patterns to emerge. You can find them better. And so what I'm expecting is to continue this uptrend, and I'm expecting to get up there pretty quickly. And so I'm going to target 27 on KPTI, and again, we're looking over this range here. And last up is Facebook. So I had posted this on Friday. This is, one of the easier patterns you're going to see. And so again, this is just a continuation pattern. This is a diamond. It's basically a triangle, but we did have to include this low here, which kind of turns it into a diamond, pretty ugly diamond. So you can call it really whatever you want, but it is a continuation pattern. So we have this nice uptrend here. The range is a bit wider. I didn't want to keep it down here. I wanted to keep a nice range. And so if we take a look at where this is going, I went ahead and targeted 254. So if you look right over here is probably where it's going to happen. You're going to probably get something, hanging out here in the middle as we were before, and then probably a continuation over down here, down to this downward, this lower trend line. And I'm just going to briefly mention the bearish watch list I put out. These are all breakdowns of patterns, so similar to the breakouts that are bullish, these are breakdowns of patterns that are bearish. I'm not going to actually go through them, as I have not really spoken of my strategy of trading on the sell side, buying puts. It works completely different than the bullish side, where we look at a certain length of time and we try to get a target based off of the movement and what the pattern means. On the bearish sides, it works a lot different. My strategy does not revolve around that. It's a lot shorter term, as when time continues to move on, it's expected that stocks are going to go up. Remember the meme, stocks only go up. There's a reason why there's a mentality like that. It's because it's true. And so when you look at technical analysis, these signals all mean different things. And so you have to trade around those. And I'm going to make just one final comment about technical analysis itself, and the reason why I use it for the basis of all my trades. And that's because I only look at tickers, Squid Trades and I both only look at tickers that are usually over 1 million 90-day average. So these are all the highest volume traded stocks, no matter what it is. And the idea is that when you get up to that high volume, technical analysis is what's king. So fundamental analysis doesn't really even come up. It's a lagger. It doesn't really dictate what price is going to be. Maybe over time it's going to come in. And so the only thing that's dictating price is technical analysis. And then you're going to see some movement intraday based off of news. So you're going to get a couple things that are going to come in, but it's not really what's dictating price. Technical analysis, when we look at something like this with these patterns, is what dictates everything. So I always speak towards, you get consolidations and then you get breakouts or breakdowns, and you're going to see movement in price. That's how technical analysis works. In anything with high volume, that's how it's going to work. And so everything that we look at, the thing that's ruling price is technical analysis and what we're looking at. So that's your trend lines, your supply levels, and then whatever patterns do emerge, they don't always emerge. If you look at the S&P, there's really no patterns. You just have trend lines and supply levels. So I wanted to put that out there. That's why we use, technical analysis itself. It is the most powerful tool at your disposal, but it's also the hardest thing to learn and the hardest thing to actually pick up. And so that's really where it comes into practice and incorporating it into your own, toolbox of being able to trade. You have to be able to know what you're looking at, and you need to know what is moving price and why price does what it does. And so hopefully, with these videos, with the channel, we'll continue to be able to help you guys form your own opinion behind this stuff, and you can actually improve even beyond what we have, as we already have our biases set in of how it works. If you can incorporate this with your own opinions and your own way of trading, you can continue to be even better trader than you are. So hopefully this helps, and I'll see you guys in chat. Let's hope for a fun Monday, and I'll see you guys there.